today the big topic is debt management plans. We're going to take a look at how does it work? Is it right for you? Very importantly, what happens after a debt management plan? And as a bonus, I've got a tip on how to save money going through this whole process. So how does it work? A debt management plan is an informal arrangement between you and the creditors, so the loan companies or credit card companies or whoever you owe money to. And it basically says that between you and the creditor, you will agree that you'll repay a lower amount than you were previously paying. And very often they'll also agree that they'll freeze any interest and freeze any extra fees or anything like that. It basically gives you a better chance of repaying the money, and the benefit to the creditor is that they're more likely to get the money, because if you stop altogether, then they get nothing. So how do you set up a debt management plan? Most people use a debt management company to set up a debt management plan. The reason being is it's quite onerous and time consuming, and it does benefit from having that experience. However, you can set it up yourself. So what a debt management plan will do is usually have quite a long telephone conversation initially, and they'll go through all of your income and expenditure, so how much you're earning from your job and other benefits, and how much you're spending on a regular basis, so whether it be a mortgage or rent or groceries or everything. They'll go through everything, a big long list, and at the end of that they'll come out with a number of how much they think you can afford to repay. Now this is really important, because if they go and propose a high amount and you can't keep up with that amount on a regular basis or until the debts are repaid, then it causes complications further down the line. You're going to have to renegotiate this debt management plan or maybe go into a different debt solution. So it's really important that you land on a number that you think is sustainable. Once the debt management company has got all of that information together, then they reach out to each individual creditor and get agreement on how much they're going to repay. And also at that point, they'll also seek agreement that they'll freeze the interest and stop adding fees, although this isn't always guaranteed, but it is beneficial if you can get that agreement, because it means that you'll pay down the balance faster. And once you're in the debt management plan, which will be the month following, you'll now repay the debt management company. So say you'll repay £100 a month, that £100 will go to the debt management company. Then the debt management company will be responsible for dividing that £100 up amongst creditors on the amount that was agreed in the debt management plan. A creditor often accepts a debt management plan under the agreement that it will be reviewed in 6 to 12 months. And what that means for you, and it's a big benefit, is that you're not being harassed by these debt collectors. So letters will stop, phone calls will stop, text messages, if you're getting them, will stop. There is a period at the start of the debt management plan. As you transition from your normal monthly payments into a debt management plan, it will require you to stop those normal monthly payments. So there might be a period where they will still contact you, but once you're fully into that debt management plan and you're making those repayments, then you won't get contacted by debt collectors anymore. Now, technically, even if you are on a debt management plan, you can be taken to court. However, this is very, very rare. The reason being is if creditors do take you to court, they're very unlikely to get any more than you're repaying on your debt management plan. So purely from a commercial basis, it doesn't make sense to go through all of that expense and time and management of taking someone to court if they're just going to get the same amount as they would through the debt management plan. So that's not really something you need to worry about. It's just something I wanted to make you aware of. And then there's one other point I wanted to make, is if your debt is with a creditor and then they sell that to a debt management company, this doesn't impact your debt management plan. So your debt management plan will just continue as it was, as you had the agreement with the creditor. And if that debt management company does contact you, you can show them the debt management plan and tell them that they no longer need to chase you because you're on this plan. Another point I wanted to make was around flexibility. Debt management plans are quite a flexible tool that does allow you to make overpayments and reduce your repayment amounts if your circumstances change. Now, what I would say is if you are able to make overpayments, then definitely do this, because it will pay your debt down faster and you'll ultimately get out of debt faster. So debt management plans are used by hundreds of thousands of people in the UK, and they're quite popular because it stops those phone calls and it stops the letters and it stops the harassment, and most importantly, most cases it stops interest and fees, which allows you to pay that debt down faster. If you'd like to see more videos about debt, then please subscribe. I do 2 videos a week and I'd really appreciate the support. So, is debt management plans the right thing for you? So there are 3 scenarios or circumstances that you might find yourself in where a debt management plan would be good for you. So first one is short term. If you're having short term troubles and you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, then a debt management plan could get you through that troubled period. For example, if you've just been made redundant, you've just lost your job and you know it's going to take you a few more months to get another job, that would be a good option. Debt management plan would get you through that period. Equally, say if you're a parent and you know your kids are leaving the house and you'll be able to downgrade from a large flat to a smaller flat and you'll have extra money as a result, then that would be a good option. And a third one that I always see, or I've often seen, is hire purchase on a car. You've taken out hire purchase on a car and you've got those monthly repayment amounts, but in 6 to 12 months you can see that you're going to repay or pay that car off and you're going to have this extra money. So having that light at the end of the tunnel means that debt management plan might be a good option for you. Another short-term scenario is that if you've got priority debts, so if you owe the government council tax, for example, then it's a good option to go on a debt management plan and say to the creditors, I've got priority debts, I'm going to repay my council tax first, and then after I've repaid that amount, then I'm going to shift on to repaying you. So the debt management plan in that circumstance can work out really well too. A debt management plan can be good for long term too, as long as you're repaying sizable amounts off and you're going to be repaying in a short enough time. The reason why a debt management plan can be good in this circumstance is because it does freeze your interest in most cases, which means that you're no longer paying interest first and then the balance, you're actually just paying the balance straight away. Now, what you need to check is that you can afford the repayments, and the repayments are going to pay down that balance at a reasonable rate. So let's use an example. Say if you owe £7,400 and your monthly repayment amounts are about £100 per month. So you do 7,400 divided by 100, which would give you 74 months. So it's going to take you 74 months of repayments to clear that debt. Now, if you do that in years, I think it's about 6 years. So 6 years is actually a reasonable time to repay that amount. But if you were repaying £10 a month or £20 a month, you could see how that would be 60 years or 120 years, and it just wouldn't be feasible for you to be on a debt management plan for that long. Another scenario is if you've got an uncertain future. If you've got an uncertain future, a debt management plan can be a good sort of holding option whilst you bide your time. So for example, if you're currently on furlough, or you think you might be made redundant, or your housing options are up in the air and you think you might have some large expenses, then a debt management plan can be that holding option where you say to the creditors, I'm going to repay this amount for the time of being until my future becomes less uncertain, in which case, once I remove that uncertainty, then I can start repaying more. Or again, that debt management plan gives you that flexibility if your circumstances change for the worse to renegotiate and do lower repayments until your circumstances improve. If you've liked this so far, please hit the like button. It'd really help me out. Thank you. Okay, so what happens after a debt management plan? Two things to consider here. You've got your credit and your assets. So your credit or your credit report is something to consider. So if you take out a debt management plan, it will appear on your credit report and your credit score will be negatively impacted. Now, it's not as bad as it seems because that impact will be shown on your credit report as an arrangement to pay, not a default or a form of insolvency. And that's important because if you've got insolvency on your credit report, then it can take a lot longer to recover in the future. Now, it's all going to drop off your credit report after 6 years anyway, but that is just something to keep in mind. And then there's assets. So assets are nothing to worry about when it comes to debt management plans. There's lots of questions on my website where people are asking things like, what will happen to my house? What will happen to my car? Now, the good thing is about a debt management plan is that no assets are involved. So they can't take your car, you can't take your house. Like I said before, it's a informal agreement. So there's no legalities involved. They're legally not allowed to do anything with your assets. Okay, so the bonus is DIY DMP. Until now, we've talked about how you can talk to a debt management company and they'll arrange the debt management plan for you. Now, if you're a little bit savvy and you've got the time to understand how a debt management plan works, the inner workings, doing all of the calculations, then you can certainly do a debt management plan yourself. So I'm going to link you to a website which will guide you through exactly how to do a debt management plan yourself. And if you do that, I wish you the best of luck. I've been Scott from MoneyNerd, and if you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe, and I hope to see you again soon.